This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And here we are on a very cold January 19th, 2022. And you know what? I am here. We're celebrating the 35th anniversary of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 with an awesome guy I met at Horror-rama 2019. In fact, I met him at the 2017 one, but he wasn't a guest. He was just hanging out with Leslie Donaldson. Folks, I give you the wonderful director of the film, Bruce Pittman. How do you do, Bruce?
Very good, thanks, and hope you're doing well too.
Well, I got my house coat. I got my clothes on, but I got my house coat on because I live in a basement apartment here, and I am cold. I got an electric blanket there I was under. I bought that the other day, and it's like, yeah, it's colder in a basement apartment, I'll tell you. But
Yeah, well, it's the same here. I've got my electric heaters on, so the little dial is whirring away, costing me extra money. So
yeah,
same thing here.
yeah, not fun, not fun. So you said there you got a lot of snow dumped on you guys there, huh?
Yeah, we had about 2 feet dumped on us on Monday, so it's yeah, it's been quite a week. Yesterday was a day of shoveling.
Well, the fellows from Blood Opera, who I know you know, was on Facebook posting. They, the lead singer was like, "Does anybody have a snowblower?" I love those guys. When they did their stream with you, I had put them in touch with Paul Lynch from the first film, and had you guys on. I got a T-shirt with them too. But I love
Oh,
those.
they never sent me a T-shirt.
Oh, I got a T-shirt when I saw them at Frightmare of the Falls. Yeah, you know
Yeah, I
what?
think that they sent through questions and I answered them and I filmed myself doing it and I did watch it. Yeah, it's quite a show.
I love those guys. I think they're awesome. I love chatting with them, and I'm still in touch with them. And yeah, I just they just did a Christmas stream one, and I had set them up with Brendan Maggart from Christmas Evil. So I
Oh
was happy.
yeah.
Yeah, I was happy to do that. Yeah. So yeah, how was your Christmas?
It was fine. It was nice and quiet the way I like it. So yeah, no, nice holiday season.
Yeah, did Santa Claus find you?
No, I'm not much into giving gifts or receiving gifts and that. I've got everything I ever wanted.
You know what? Santa found my cat. He didn't find me, and I'm kind of like, I'm pretty sure I was better behaved than my cat. He's over there asleep now,
Yeah.
curled up there. Yeah, back a couple years ago, because Lisa Langlois and I exchanged gifts at Christmas, and she sent me a package in the mail. It consisted of a cat stocking.
All right.
Oh yeah, and it had a little Santa hat and a beard in it that you could put on your pet. Yeah, my cat Skittles said that's a gift that does not keep on giving. He did not want to wear that.
Well, I've got my backyard pets, the wild critters in the neighborhood here, and I particularly like raccoons. So, and I've noticed this winter, I guess with global warming, because usually November to April, you don't see them. They go into a semi-hibernation, and this year they've been out all the time. Although they're not going to come out in the snow, but they were out on the weekend. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but yeah, those are my pets, the backyard ones that come to the back door and to say hello and that.
Well, I gotta say, it was wonderful meeting you at Horror-rama in 2019, and I especially enjoyed it when Lisa and I were able to meet you at that little pub and uh, after one of the shows and just grab supper. It was just I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, that was good fun. I enjoyed the Horror-rama there, and Yeah, it was quite intriguing. I had not been to one of those before because Hello, Mary Lou is the only horror film I've ever done. So it was great to meet all the aficionados of the genre, and I met a few people there. The guy who wrote Night of the Living Dead, the original one. It was nice to meet him, and ran into a few familiar faces there. Lisa Sredge was there, who played Mary Lou, and it was great to see her. I hadn't seen her in 30 years, and she hadn't aged a
Oh
day.
my goodness, she's
And
gorgeous.
George Buza was there as well, who I worked with on Maniac Mansion, who's an old friend of mine. So he was there as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
I got to get George Buza on here. I haven't had him on here yet. I, you see, I used to do these when I interviewed you the first time. I did it at the station, with I did it by phone. But when the station went into lockdown, I had no way of doing these. And
Right.
yeah, Nancy McLaughlin from Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, had said to me, if she can do Zoom, I can do Zoom. And I did 144 interviews last year as a result, and it was my record breaker. And
Oh,
right
very
now,
good.
yeah, and right now you're my 15th here so far in 2022, and I've got about another 8 or 9 booked.
Right.
Yeah, so it is awesome.
Well,
I
it's always interesting. It was, I guess, about 5 or 6 years ago, I became aware because people would contact me through Facebook and various other the emails and that Hello, Mary Lou sort of resurfaced after all these years and become a semi-cult favorite. And I noticed that more and more on the internet, I was coming across things about Hello, Mary Lou. So it was, I remember, I forget the first interview I did, but there was somebody there and I said, you're really going to have to, if you're going to ask questions, send them to me in advance because I got to hone my memory as to what, because off the cuff, I may be sitting here going, and I heard, it was an interview, it was on a show where they get a couple of guest stars in, and they had Charlize Theron and the Canadian comic, quite big, did a few movies. I'm brain dead. Anyway, they had the two of them on, and it said they're going to talk about Hello, Mary Lou. So I saw it on YouTube. So I looked at it. I thought, well, the 10-minute, 5-minute discussion on it. It was an hour and a half long, this show. They'd obviously screened the film for them the night before, and they spent an hour and a half picking through the movie. And they really enjoyed the movie. Charlize Theron said it was terrific. She liked it. And
oh
they were just having a lot of fun. So it's sort of like, a whole new generation now has come along and discovering this film we did in the mid 80s. And it's very nice. A lot of people say very nice things about the film. And I remember we had a lot of fun making it. And Samuel Goldwyn Company in the United States purchased it. And I think the price they paid was more than what the film cost. So as far as Canadian producers, they were very happy because they had a profit before the film even opened. And I'm not sure what it did in box office, probably middling. I mean, it wasn't a huge hit. But I think it found an audience, but now it's finding a brand new audience. And yeah, it's quite fun because I'll hear from people 7, 8 times a year, want interviews or to talk about it, which I'm always quite happy to do. It just brings up fond memories of the time we spent in Edmonton making the film. And yeah, so it's fun.
yeah, I understand. Originally, this was not supposed to be a Prom Night sequel.
No, not at all. It originally came from, there was a producer that I had worked with on a film called Mark of Cain, Ray Sager. and he was working with Simcom, Peter Simpson, and that company done the original Prom Night. And I guess he put in a word for me there, and they sent me 3 scripts they wanted to do. And they were going to produce them during the year. And they said, which one do you like? And they were very surprised when I said, I like this script called The Haunting of Hamilton High. And it was just, it was a black comedy, and with a lot of references to other horror films there. And I just thought it was wonderfully put together, a great script, and Ron Oliver had written it. And we set out to make The Haunting of Hamilton High, which we did. We shot it in Edmonton. And then just before the release, I guess for commercial considerations, they decided to take advantage of the success of the original Prom Night, and they called it Prom Night 2. Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. And I'm sure that was strictly for commercial consideration. But the problem with that was a lot of the reviews said this is in no way a sequel. And it did create confusion. They're going like, well, what has this got to do with the first film? Well, actually, absolutely nothing other than the title. So I don't know whether that was to their advantage or worked out to their disadvantage. But anyway, that's the way they did it.
So you hadn't seen the first Prom Night at that time, huh?
I never have. I've never seen any of the Prom Night movies apart from the one that I did.
I've only seen yours and the original by Paul Lynch, you know. And I love the fact that they're Canadian, you know.
Right, yeah.
But I haven't seen the third and fourth one, and I definitely haven't seen the remake. Heard bad things about it. But
they made 5 of them. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But and it may have been in those days, it was quite prevalent that you weren't allowed anywhere in the film to say that this is set in Canada, which I never quite understood why they would do that. But I guess they thought, oh, American audiences, if you say it's Canada, they'll stay away in droves. I don't know why they did that. I mean, what difference does it make?
But that's weird
location
too.
was never mentioned. I suppose we may have changed the license plates, which they always did. When you're making films Canada, they change it to U.S. license plates. And I don't ever remember going to a film looking at the license plates on the cars. If you are, it's not a very good film. However, that's changed these days. Now you can actually set a film in Toronto or Canada and it's accepted. I wish that had happened earlier, but that's the way it goes.
Well, it's like Black Christmas is purely a Canadian film, but yet they have little American flags on the desk and the police stations and whatnot. And I'm like, it's funny because when I watch Black Christmas, I never think, gee, this is America. You know, I just think it's taking place in a Canadian snow-driven town.
It's just a good story to actually say, this is set somewhere else. If the plot doesn't dictate that, why go to that bother and expense to do that? I just found it a bit demeaning to have that happen when you're shooting a film story that could take place anywhere and they go out of their way to make it American. I always thought that was odd.
Yeah, same here. I like the old tax shelter days with film where they made a lot of great movies through that, like your Class of 1984, your Prom Night, your Black Christmas, and Cronenberg made some really good movies like Shivers and The Brood and Scanners and stuff like that. And you don't see any of that now. There's a lot of companies that come in here from the States, they'll make a movie and then it gets labeled an American movie.
Well, it's funny. I mean, the tax shelter days, the problem with when they did the tax shelter, it was some very smart accountants who sort of worked this deal where people investing in movies could get 100% write-off. It became a very good and popular investment, but that sort of brought lawyers and accountants in as producers. And there was a huge number of films that were just dreadful. It was basically, we'll get in a lot of money, we won't spend on the movie. I mean, there were a lot of shady things. And eventually, I think the government said, look, this is a bit of a scam. Some good movies came out of it, but the vast majority of films were pretty bad, mostly because the people producing them were not qualified as producers. They were picking bad material, and they shot themselves in the foot. So the tax incentive sort of disappeared, which really hurt the industry a lot, because it's very hard in the best of times to raise money to make a movie. But, with some government support like tax incentives, it helps a lot. The other thing that I've always felt that was a shame in Canada, which has never been corrected, they and the Motion Picture Association of America, through Jack Valenti, for years fought against Canada doing it, and always won. They spent a lot of time in Ottawa talking to politicians, because they felt that the Canadian market was basically part of the American market. So it really shut Canadian films off to access to theaters. You can't get a Canadian film into theaters. And why this government never did what most countries in the world do to protect their culture is to mandate that theaters have to show a certain percentage of films made in the country. Canada's never done that. For instance, last week I was looking at a list. They said the critics' lists of the 10 best films in 2021 in Canada. I looked at the titles, never heard of any of the 10 films. You can't access any of the 10 films. I guess they show at film festivals or TIFF or something, and then they disappear. They don't have an outlet to be shown to audiences. So you're not going to find an audience if it never gets shown in the first place. And Canada is never done that. I remember back in the early 70s, the CRTC, which didn't govern theaters, they said radio stations have to play 50% Canadian music.
Yep, still, yep.
Stations howled. They went, it'll never work. You're killing the radio business. As a result of that, you discovered Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Gordon Lightfoot, the Guess Who. It created the Canadian music industry. Why? Because audiences discovered we've got great musicians and huge talent in this country that's never been done for film in this country. And it's a real shame. And I don't think it ever will. Now it's just, and it's the market's so different now. There's, the internet and streaming and all of that. So, those concerns are sort of gone the way of the dodo, but it's just too bad that there is very little outlet for Canadian filmmakers to get their films shown.
Yeah, according to IMDb, Internet Movie Database, you haven't done a film since 2012. Are you officially retired?
Actually, it was in 2004. I was working on a series episode of, or a few episodes of Sue Thomas FBI. And I just felt the scripts were not very good. In fact, I worked that show over 2 seasons, did 5 shows over 2 seasons. And I actually, in the second season, had a script, and it was identical to the script I'd shot the year before. They just changed a few of the characters, and that's about it, but it was the same plot. And I had the feeling I was punching a clock. And also the people coming up on the cruise, the new people, the young people coming up, they were a different breed. They were simply there to make money. They were cashing their paychecks. They hadn't read the scripts. They didn't care about the scripts. They would just punch a clock and the grip would be, yeah, what do you want me to do? He had no feel for the story you're trying to tell. And that's very difficult to go in and try and direct people that they don't know the story. They quite frankly don't care about the story. Tell me what you want and I'll do it. Everybody in there was punching the clock. And I got a feeling that, yeah, why am I doing this? And I finally discovered I was doing it for the money. And that's not why I got in the film business. And I didn't really quit the film business. I just stopped chasing those kind of jobs. And when you're a freelancer, you spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week lining up your next job. When you get the job, you work like hell on that. And I just felt I'm just going to wait until something better comes along. Well, there's very, very few things that come along. In 2012, I just self-financed and made the film The Last Movie on my own hook. It was a small, and I said, I've got the ability to do it. And there were a lot of people of my age that were not getting jobs. It was all going to younger people and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, look, does anyone want to have fun to work on this thing? And I got together a crew of 4 or 5 of the old stalwarts, and we just had fun. And over a year, on alternate Tuesdays, when everyone was available, we would shoot another scene. Nobody got paid. We just had great fun doing it. It was like going full circle, because that's how I got started making films. You go pick up a camera and go make a movie. And that's what we did. There were no deadlines. There was nobody standing over your shoulder. You didn't have to recut it for commercial considerations.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great fun. So I did that in 2012. But I just went back and I just did a film on my own career. And I said, well, I did one on everything I'd ever done up to 2004. And I said, well, what the heck have I done since then? And since 2004, I've done 69 films and 25 photo books. I've done more since I so-called retired than I did while I was working. I don't get paid for it, but I'm having great fun doing it. And the films I make are just for me and my friends. I mean, I'll pick a subject and I've got the equipment and just go make a movie and just do it for the pure joy of doing films. So I've been more active now than I ever was when I was getting paid for it. Now, mind you, that required a considerable amount of downsizing my life.
Well, you know what? It's interesting because, I work as a cleaner, that's what I've been an essential worker to this whole mess out there. And I do this because I enjoy it, and if I hear people going into podcasting because they want to get paid for it, they want to get famous. And I think that allows you to run into a lot of trouble if you're not enjoying what you're doing. That's your first problem. And yeah, so
Oh, I totally agree. Totally
Mhm.
agree. You've got to love what you're doing, or why are you doing it? And the reason I do film, I've told people, is I'm totally unqualified for any other line of work. It's the only thing I've ever done. So
Well, I know you were a guest at Horror-rama 2019. I officially met you at the 2017 one when you were just there sitting down chatting with Leslie Donaldson.
yeah, Leslie Donaldson and Lisa had told me about this thing. I'd never heard of it. And I said, well, it sounds like it might be fun to go to. So I mean, I basically just went up there as a horror fan, and I had a lot of fun. And then
Mhm.
I think it's Chris Alexander
Yeah.
was in charge, and the next year he invited me to be a guest and that. Although I found it embarrassing, people were coming over and paying me for an autograph. I was uncomfortable doing that, but I was sitting next to people where that's how they were making money,
Hmm.
was signing autographs. And then I felt, well, no, I can't not charge, because it was rather uncomfortable doing that. I mean, why would anyone want my autograph anyway? Well, what they do, I don't feel they should pay for it, but that's not the way these things run these days. So anyway,
I got a signed prom night. Well, there was one. I guess you had them on your table, signed prom night 2 photo on your table, and I got that here somewhere. Um, I know I did a video, my unveiling video and stuff. I got that at that con. So yeah, no, I enjoyed meeting you, and they had you set up right there by Lisa Shiraj. That I remember when I met her, I was just actually I was just walking through, and I just saw her, and I didn't know it was her at first. I just saw this gorgeous woman, and I just stared, and she looked at me, and I think she thought that looked at me because she was at that table, and she was like, I think she thought I was a fan, wondered if I was going to come over, and really I was trying to figure out, is that Lisa Siraj? I did go over. I was a little tongue-tied because, man, she's stunning, and I got a beautiful picture of her, and she signed it. And I'd love to get her on the show here, but I have no way. I have no way of getting in touch with her. So
yeah, I hadn't seen her in 35 years, but I stupidly failed to get a contact number for her or anything. But it was great to see her again. I think she lives out in BC somewhere, maybe Vancouver or whatever, but I think she's out on the West Coast. And she got out of film long ago, and she's had a separate career and all that. So it was very good of her to come back to prom night 2 all those years later. But yeah, it
yeah.
was nice seeing her again.
Did you like when you met Lisa and I for did you sit down and reminisce with her any while you were there?
Well, Lisa, I've never worked with Lisa, actually. I ran into Lisa at the Cannes Film Festival, and it was 1978 or
We're
79.
talking about Lisa Langlois here,
Lisa Langlois.
yeah.
And I had I had my camera with me, and she was on her way to something. There were some people I knew. There was Al Waxman and a few people, and it was on the beach. Lovely background. And I just took a couple of photos of Lisa there, and that was about it. And then I was culling through old photographs that I came across this, and I looked up on Facebook. I said, I think that's Lisa Langlois. I looked up Facebook and said, oh, there's Lisa Langlois. I think that is her. And I simply made a JPEG and then sent it to her. And that's how we got reacquainted. After that, she thanked me for sending the photo. Would you like to get to? I said, sure, why not? So we became friends through a photo I took like 40 years ago.
I gotta say, Lisa has had a tremendous impact on my life because I lived here my whole life. I'm gonna turn 50 this year. And I
Right.
often say I didn't really start living till my early to mid 40s, really, because I never traveled. And it wasn't until I had Lisa on for the second time, she we got talked about travel. She had just moved back to Toronto, and she asked me what was stopping me. And she invited me to assist her at Horror-rama, and I was petrified of the thought of travel because I would get homesick just going to Moncton or St. John.
Right.
Well, I'm now officially the only one in my family who's ever flown. And my folks, actually my family altogether, are surprised. They're quite surprised I actually got on a plane and went by myself. But
Mm.
I couldn't turn that down. I mean, I knew Lisa from Class of 1984 from the 80s. I loved that movie. And so I got on a plane. It turns out that it was like taking a bus in the sky. It didn't bother me at all. And landed and met Lisa at Union Station. She schooled me on the subways and the streetcars, and she and I have been friends ever since. I usually call her about once a week or once every other week, and see how she's doing. And every time I go to Toronto, I uh, I connect with Lisa. So
Yeah, no, lovely lady, lovely
yeah.
lady.
In fact, last time I was there, we went to a t-shirt place, and she had a picture of herself from Class of 1984, an image of herself. She wanted to see if she could get done up on t-shirts that maybe she could sell. And I got a t-shirt with that image on it and a face mask with that image on it. Yep. So I always have fun with Lisa when I go there, and it's nice to know her outside the movies. So I
Yeah,
I
I
absolutely love Lisa.
I did a project which I turned into a photo book and also a film, but over the years, I've always been interested in going to the places where they shot some of my favorite films in travels, and I just call it film archaeology. So I've been to a huge number of places where some of my favorite films were shot, and I do research when I get to a spot. I remember going to the south of Spain and going to where they shot in from Lawrence of Arabia, the attack on Aqaba, the location for that,
Great
and
movie.
in Seville where they used a lot of locations in Seville, and but all over in Monument Valley where John Ford shot his films, and you name it. Bodega Bay, the old schoolhouse from the Birds, and that. So I just love doing that kind of traveling along. That's one of the films I did, was just basically film archaeology, just showing this various places, like the scene from the movie and what they look like today and so forth. And that's been great fun. So that's been part of my travel stuff. And also I love being in places in history. World War II spots, and I also like graveyards too, visiting graveyards and finding out where famous and infamous people are buried and photographing their tombstones and that.
Which ones have you visited that stand out to you?
Well, I'm just working on one now. I tracked and done a number of things. I'm just calling it gangsters, and I picked 5 gangsters from the 30s. I'm just working on this film now, but I've actually followed their path through history. I remember with John Dillinger being one, Alvin Karpis, Bonnie and Clyde, Al Capone, and there's another one in there somewhere. Anyway, and I remember going to traveling up to Wisconsin, and a little tiny little town, hard to find, hard to get to, but there's an inn there where John Dillinger and Babyface Nelson were trapped by the FBI. They knew they were staying in this inn, and they opened fire on the inn and so forth. So, and they all escaped. It was a debacle. Dillinger got away, Babyface Nelson got away. And just going into that inn, and it's exactly like it was in the 1930s. In fact, they filmed Public Enemies use that original location in the movie. And I went upstairs, and there's John Dillinger's original room. They never touch it. The bullet holes are still in the wall and so forth. I remember going to Chicago, the Biograph Theater where he was shot. And it looks virtually identical. That block of buildings and so forth is the same as it was then. I found the graves of Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker in Dallas. Alvin Karpis, actually met him in the 70s. We had him on the show Saturday Night at the Movies with Elway Yost and did an hour-long interview with him. So, and I had before we did the show, I had a long talk with him, but he knew all these people, and he's the longest serving prisoner in Alcatraz. He spent 26 years in Alcatraz and 33 years in prison. And when he was paroled, he was deported back to his native country, Canada. Yeah, and it was interesting hearing his stories because he'd met all of these other people. So I just put together the photos, now getting old footage of that and putting together a little film on my connections with that aspect of history. And yeah, I have great fun doing that kind of thing.
That sounds like fun. Yes. Yeah. Now, did you know Leslie back as far as you knew Lisa?
I worked with Leslie Donaldson on, I believe the first time was on an episode of a show called Adderley. And
Okay.
she was on that. And then the next year, I worked on a huge miniseries CBC was doing called Chasing Rainbows. And she had a very good part in that. And I worked with her, and I just thought she's just a fabulous actress. So I sort of, and then I didn't, after that, I didn't reconnect with her until Lisa knew Leslie, and the three of us got together, said, do you know Leslie? No, I said, oh my God, yes, I do. So we reconnected after 30 years or whatever, after doing Chasing Rainbows.
Yeah, Leslie is very underrated, for her talent. I haven't seen her in a while. I saw her at Horror-rama. I was going to try, I've had her on here a couple times. I was going to see if I could get her on last year, but I think she's busy and whatnot. It's got things going on. That's fine.
Well, it's very difficult for actors in Canada. I mean, they're so underrated and underused, and the talent pool in Canada is just immense. I've worked with probably a couple of thousand actors, Canadian actors, and just there's some amazing people here. And I always feel so bad when just to make a living, they have to leave the country and go either New York or Los Angeles to find work. And now that they said, oh, the Canadian film industry is booming. Well, it's basically Americans coming up here, mostly because of the low Canadian dollar. If our dollar goes up, the Americans will leave. I mean, they don't care where they make the films. They just want to make them cheaply. So the labor pool is cheap. The talent pool is cheap. And they come up here and they'll have really superb actors with a lifetime worth of experience, and they'll bring them in for walk-on roles, 1 or 2 lines. It's really demeaning. And they'll bring the main cast up, they'll fly them in and use them. So it's tremendously difficult for actors in this country, to make a living, which is a real shame. And I just know hundreds of actors that are just superb and so underused. And quite frankly, I don't know why they stay in the business. I mean, it's because there is no business for them. It's very, very unfortunate.
Well, how do you feel about Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, 35 years? Like, does that blow your mind?
Yeah, I just find it interesting. It's like they always say, films never die. And if you work in the Canadian film industry, yes, indeed, films do die and they disappear. And and are totally forgotten. So it's quite nice that this film has fans, that it's rejuvenated it, and a whole new audience for it that seem to like it a lot. And I watched it again. There was a group that were doing a podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have everyone join the podcast that owned a copy of the film. And what they had, me and I had my copy, and they started the podcast and I was on it, and they'd say, okay, everyone press play. So everyone is simultaneously watching the movie. And then they just did their interview of me while I was watching the movie, which I hadn't seen in quite a while. And yeah, there's some very good things. I think it's very good. I mean, I was taken off the movie at the end of shooting, and they had, the producer and the editor, they went ahead and cut it their own way. But I generally, when I directed, there wasn't a lot of other material to use other than the material I shot in the order that I shot it. So the cut is very close to something I would have done. They also went and shot additional scenes, which are fine. I find some of them like, why bother? But whatever, they went and did that. And the weakness of the film that I was doing, we never had a good ending for it, like a really strong ending. And they worked out a very good ending for it, which was in keeping with the tone of the film. And they went and shot this little scene, a tag to put an ending on it. So by and large, I thought it's very good. I'm quite pleased with the film, and still like it. So,
Well, we talked about Lisa Siraj. What about Michael Ironside? When's the last time you seen him?
last time I saw Michael was on the last day of filming of Hello, Mary Lou. Prom
Ah,
Night.
I
And
often say he's like,
we got along great. I mean, he's a real pro, and I think he had fun doing it. He was a nominal star. They had to have a star. Michael Ironside had been in a couple of Cronenberg films and a few American films, so he was the a star they could afford, because we didn't have a huge budget. So he came up, and he was interesting because he wasn't playing the evil, monstrous guy in the movie, and he quite liked that. And he did a great job, but an absolute pro, on time, knew his lines, knew how to hit a mark, and it was so easy to work with. I really enjoyed working with him a lot.
what about Wendy Leon?
Oh, she's wonderful.
Mhm.
They did a lot of casting, but when she walked in, I said, oh, this is her. And then there was, well, she's sort of the lead of the whole film. And they looked at dozens and dozens of other people. And I kept saying, I'm telling you, Wendy's got it. And she's a marvelous actress, and was great fun to work with. And I think shortly after, I did a couple episodes of Friday the 13th, and I put her in one of those. And I think there was another, there was a science fiction show, and I forget which one, but so I put her in a few things afterwards. And yeah, marvelous lady. And I don't think she works much anymore. She had some kids and so forth. She actually married a very good director, who's still working. So, but Wendy was just marvelous. And Beth Gondek, who's in Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night too. She was in my film, The Last Movie. So that was great to reconnect with her. And she was a marvelous actress who was also doing modeling. And she was in Japan and Europe, and had sort of a modeling career, went to New York, and was trying to get work as an actress with not great results, and then opened up a store in Toronto. I happened to run into her, and I said, would you like to do this film? She read the script, said she'd love to, and she's terrific in it, so my faith was renewed in her talents.
Yeah. No, and I think one other actor you worked with, and this of course was in Mark of Cain, Memories of Wendy Crewson.
Oh yeah, no, she was very nice, and on that film, that was made with a zero budget, and we had to go like hell, and everyone who worked on that film got into the spirit of it. We've got only so many days to shoot this, and she got right into the spirit and was like, there's no time to prepare, and she's got to go into these scenes that are quite emotional, and it's like, well, we'll be doing 4 scenes a day. And it's like to put an actress through that, but she was a real trooper. And it's very good in the film, but great fun to work with. And she went, unfortunately, another actress that went down to the States who found great success down there. And I think in the last few years has come back to Canada, which is nice to see her. So
Yeah. Yeah, they gotta get her at some of the cons. Yeah. Yeah. I remember her in the Santa Claus.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, with Tim Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, and she played Harrison Ford's wife in Air Force One too, I believe.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that film, and I love Harrison Ford, but is the US president really going to fight terrorists on Air Force? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't buying that any more than buying the president flying against the aliens on Independence Day. I just wasn't buying it. If that was the prime minister of Canada, they'd be laughing us, laughing at us. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But how are you dealing with the whole pandemic situation? You keeping yourself safe? I
Oh
take it you
yeah,
are.
yeah. No, I've got my vaccinations and my booster, and I got a flu shot in the middle of that, and wear my mask, and don't go out to large gatherings. And yeah, no, I've taken it very seriously. In fact, I just done a film just before the pandemic hit, where I was looking into research on the pandemic of 1918-19, which killed 80 million people.
Wow.
And that came just after World War One, which killed 50 million people. So yeah, I took it very seriously, and watched in horror the way the government got so far behind in dealing with it. And it's like, no, you have to deal with it right now, catch it immediately, which they never did. And, don't get me started on people that don't want to get vaccinated. I have very low regard for them. I think they're selfish, and I don't understand their point of view whatsoever. They're killing people, and they're keeping this pandemic going on and on and on. The only silver line to the cloud is that I consider anyone unvaccinated as being completely stupid. So what this pandemic is doing, the silver lining is it's killing off stupid people, which may in the long run be a blessing. But I know people that have cancer, that have heart conditions, they cannot get their operations because the hospitals are flooded with the idiots that do not want to get vaccinated. And what they ought to do is just, get your vaccination cards. Those that are vaccinated, they can go places. Those that complete freedom, you don't want to be vaccinated, but you can't go out into society. You can't go to restaurants. You can't go to movie theaters. Just stay the hell away from healthy people. Stop making people sick. Anyway, that's my rant on that.
I got vaccinated for you guys, Toronto. I usually mostly work back shifts, and now I have to be vaccinated for my job. But originally I wasn't because I'm not working around people. When I clean at night, it's just me in the building, But when I found out that Frightmare in the Falls was still going on in Toronto, I called Lisa and I said, "Look, you open for me visiting?" She said yes. So that's when I got vaccinated. So I had no side effects. Now I haven't had the booster. I haven't been asked to get it. Um, I have had flu shot. I get flu shot every year. Um, I had no side effects. Now the booster, I'm hearing negative and positive in terms of its after effects on people.
Well, there's bound to be people react to all kinds of shots. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you hear this anecdotal stuff. By far, the vast majority is fine. I had a booster, no reaction whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And that'd be about 96, 97%. What you're hearing are the 3% of people, which you get with anything. I mean, people take aspirin and die. It's like that does happen. But the vast majority, I just highly recommended it. That everyone get vaccinated because I'd like life to get back to normal, and
Yeah,
that isn't
same
going to
here.
happen until people take it seriously and everyone's got to get vaccinated. I remember in school in the early 50s, polio, you had
Mm-hmm.
to get vaccinated. You didn't have vaccinations, you didn't go to school. Same with measles, mumps. I mean, why all of a sudden the people are against this vaccination? I mean, to go to Europe right up until the mid 70s, you had to get typhoid. There was about 3 shots you had to get. Otherwise, you couldn't go to Europe. I mean, it's always been that way. Uh, that's how we fought disease. I mean, it's you drive a car, you got to go get a license, you got to get tested. Everything it's you just do it. You're part of a community. You want to live in the community, you've got to have some respect for other people. You have to have respect for the community, and to go around unvaccinated, killing yourself and spreading it to other people, and having to we've just shut down again. All the restaurants are closed.
Same here.
Here we go again,
Yeah.
and why is it? Oh, well, these unvaccinated people are wandering around talking about their personal freedom. Well, there is an obligation if you live in the society to protect that society. So if you don't want to get vaccinated, fine, live in a house and let's padlock the doors. Don't come out and commune with anyone else. Take
Yeah.
yourself completely out of society.
Yeah, we just went in a lot. Well, I'm still working, of course, but last Friday we went into lockdown at midnight, and I was like, well, since I know that, I went to the theater and caught a couple movies before they closed down. Um, I remember when I went to Toronto, like I said, I mean, I was masked up and vaccinated, but like I said, Lisa and I went to a street Halloween party, and it was a lot of fun. And um, yeah, I needed that vacation in Toronto. It's a couple of years, and I needed that trip. So
Well, I think everyone wants to get back to normal. Everyone feels shut in. I mean, I'm a bit of a hermit anyway, so I haven't really noticed it all that much. But yeah, I think everyone would like to get back to normal because it's a strain on people. I mean, people with kids, geez, that must be hell, and trying to figure out schooling and at home schooling, and it just must be terrible on them. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be for years to come people dealing with depression because of these 2 years we've gone through, and now we're going into the third year of it. So
yeah, yeah. Well, Bruce, I've enjoyed having you on here today, and reminisces about Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. I hope Christopher Chris Alexander brings you back to Horror-rama, or maybe even James Ponce and company bring you to Frightmare in the Falls. That was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
um,
whereabouts is that?
Niagara Falls.
Oh, Niagara Falls, right? Yeah.
Yep, yep. I went to that last year. Lisa suggested it. She wasn't a guest at it, but we did take a road trip together down there.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there was no way I rented the car and she drove because there was no way I was gonna drive.
Right. Yeah. No, on the QEW, no, that's not.
Yeah.
I don't like that highway much. No.
Yeah. So Lisa drove and I paid for the rental, and it gave us a chance to reminisce and
Right.
she had a friend that she was able to touch base with down there, and I went to the convention and and afterwards we connected again. We drove back and went to a restaurant, and I can't tell you how much I love Lisa and the fact that she's opened up this opportunity, because I never planned to ever travel in my life, and although I've only been to Toronto,
Mhm.
I love Toronto. And last time I was there, when I was there this past fall, I took some videos of myself on my trip. I just I love Toronto. I just have a lot of fun there, and I'd live there if I could afford to do so.
Yeah.
I Yep, I love Toronto, and I thank Lisa for opening my eyes to that. Now, I haven't gone to the States or any place like that yet. I say baby steps, give me time. I just made it to Toronto.
Well, you came close. You got to Niagara Falls just across the bridge there. You could have waved at it. There it is.
Well, we did see the falls. Lisa and I and one of her friends stopped at the falls, and I took a couple pictures and whatnot. But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can get Lisa at Niagara Fall Frightmare in the Falls for next year, and
Yeah,
and
last time I went to Niagara Falls, I did some research and I booked myself into the same hotel room that Marilyn Monroe stayed in when she was filming Niagara back in 1953
oh wow,
or whenever it was. Yeah, that was great. They had pictures of her on the wall and so forth, and that. So they knew damn well that, yeah, the people do sort of say, I'd like to stay at your hotel, but I want this room. So,
I
yeah.
stayed at the Tower Hotel when I was there. Lisa went down. She stayed the night at a friend's place that she knew down there, and I stayed at the Tower Hotel to which was about 5-minute walk from Scotiabank Convention Center. So
Oh, yeah.
and then the following day after the convention was done, Lisa picked me up, and but I had a lot of fun and had a great trip down there, and I hope if things clear up, I can do it again.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe Lisa and I can meet you for dinner again,
Sure.
but
Yeah, when they open things up again. Yeah.
yeah, but I've been trying to get Chris Alexander on the show here, but boy, he responds to me like I ordered a Blu-ray of one of his films, and he was very thankful and sent me a private message about that. And I'm like, okay. He says, anything I could do for you? And I'm like, yeah, get your ass on my show.
Yeah. No, what you do is you say, come on my show, and then I'll buy your Blu-ray.
I did have Ali Chappell on though, who's been in a lot of his movies, and
I just talked to her this morning. She helped me out on a little photo exercise I did a year, 2 years ago, and just wonderful, just so full of energy and spirit and optimism and so forth.
yep.
And we were going to get together for general purposes, but I called her this morning. We're supposed to get together tomorrow morning. I said, forget about it. Too much snow on the roads. Don't even think about driving. When the snow goes, we'll reschedule that. But she's a wonderful lady.
I love Ali, and she was one of the guests at Frightmare in the Falls, and she was there in her Necropolis Legion outfit. I had her on here last February. I got to get her back on here because she was on here for 3 hours,
Oh, yeah.
and I just loved watching her move and express herself, and love Allie, and I've known her since Horror-rama 2017 when she was down in the refreshment area serving the Halloween teas, and now I'm like seeing the stuff she's doing, and Chris Alexander gets some great work out of her and his visions and films that he does. So yeah, no, I'm glad you got that connection because Allie's a treat.
Mm-hmm. She
Mm-hmm.
certainly is. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Well, Bruce, I was delighted to have you on here today. I'm glad we were able to do this again. And I say, don't shovel the snow. If you get critters you're feeding in the backyard, make them earn it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Little tiny shovels for them. That'd be good if I could. Well, thanks very much. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, celebrating the 35th anniversary of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. Yes, we got to connect again next time I'm in Toronto, and I'm hoping it'll be this fall. I hope to get out, and I look forward to it. Yeah, I look forward to it. Before I let you go, would you mind please doing a plug for my show?
Sure. What do you want me to say?
Just say you're Bruce Pittman, you're the director of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Python Paradise.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Bruce Pittman, director of Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python Paradise.
Absolutely. Bruce, stay warm, stay safe. We value you and we love you. And yes, have fun with Allie when you connect with your project, because she's a delight.
All righty.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Take care. God
You
bless.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.